My name is Theodore Cottingham, and I lead a school like no other school in the world, on earth as we know it. I lead a school for angels to be God again, the mind of one. Letting you know, humanity, we were the angels that fell. Fallen into a race of disrepair, dispute, dereliction, diction and grammar, vocabulary, energy of another's world. But how did these worlds come into place? And how did we come to be placed in this one? Who are we? And why have we fallen so low? I suggest to you, the Creator is us. The Creator, the mind of what we've called God, the mind of God, is not just one unitary being in the image of us, a man or woman. But God, the consciousness of God, the mind of God, is what we have called one. There's one consciousness. There's not a consciousness any longer of approval or needing approval, wanting approval, or somebody else approving us that changes our behavior or who we are. You see, when we begin to learn who we are, we're no longer ruled by our soul, and we're no longer trying to save it, redeem it, or convert someone else. The real us, the real you, underneath your clothes, underneath your flesh, within your mind, the command control center of your authority, the seat, if you will, of your essence, your throne, is, in fact, the consciousness of God. If you will not use it to separate you from it. But we have been taught thought. We have been taught to think and let our thought rule us. We have been taught how to be rational thinking beings, and we have created our own mess, our own DNA, and cobbled together what we are with the iterations of our creatorship. Not the orthodox message, but one I believe you're trying to find, you're ready to find, you're ready to act on if you're willing to know the truth and realize the truth, when you find it, is not comfortable. The truth is not confirming all of our theories. The truth that someone else made us and that we are made in the image of God. So therefore, by deduction, God must look like us. Individuals who have a separate mind. And since we innately judge each other, comparing ourselves to each other, condemning each other, think that God must be like us. And we image God to ourselves, and we walk accordingly. ripping each other's wings off each day, beginning with our own. But I suggest to you, there is a new revolution going on. And it's not the angels against God anymore. It's the angels who are appearing in the temple of right standing, righteousness, right writing, right listening, right learning, right becoming, the creation of the creators again, who no longer mask the effort of flesh to redeem it, to continue its ignorance. When religion no more rules us, if we come with a heart of humility, where we are willing to know God directly, and let God teach us directly in human terms, that we are unlimited, that we are the angels that fell. And a newborn who recreates itself in the kingdom of the unlimited infinite is what we have called God. But are you willing to realize God doesn't need to be called God? God doesn't need that label. God doesn't need the name, whatever you call it. It's not in the name of Jesus. It's not in the name of God. Your name is no less precious than Jesus, because that's how you refer to yourself. And now we're learning to come out of the shell. We're learning we grow the tree of life. And it's not heresy, it's not blasphemy, it's maturity. Those who think that I'm talking blasphemously, heretically, I suggest define themselves by religion's terms, but I am not religious. I am not a God you serve anymore. I am a God that's me, and I ask you to come in to the Godhood, the Godship of you, that one angel is, because all of the angels are the mind of God. It's a collective consciousness spread throughout time, space, in the infinite I am. And I'm sharing with you that I am the I am, who will be it accordingly, not by the dictates of man, not by your holy books, not by any Bible. Although we can draw much wisdom many times from certain aspects of what is given in the ancient writings, and the writings that have come forth at times from you here, because without a doubt there are times when you have written the first person words of God, many times unknowingly. You thought it was your own consciousness because something else made you and made you to be separate, and you're separate. So when you think you have a grandiose thought, you have an original thought, you begin to think new thoughts and have revelation of new ideas, even developing technology and how to love one another. You take credit for it yourself, not realizing God is in you, not. But you are inextricably linked to God because you're the seed. And what we've called God does not forsake the children of that origination, of that original race. that, for lack of a better word, I'm using angels, the angelic race of one. We're coming into it again. That's what a newborn is. A new creation. And we're learning to create new creations, beginning with the one in our mirror. And I have a school for this, lo and behold. A listener made a comment on my video a few days ago and asked a very valid question. Where do you get your information? And I answered. I have quested to know God most of my life, and this year I'll be 73. I'm a simple, common, ordinary guy. Born into a home, devout Christians. I became a devout Christian. I studied the Bible. I sat through thousands and thousands of services, and I spent many hours in prayer, and I learned how to pray. And I'm not diminishing any of that. But much of that is powerless. And I suggest to you that all of that is powerless until you learn to surrender, to become intimate with what I'm calling God. Intimate, where it's more than just what we thought it is. It's more than sex. It's a whole lot more than physical. It's an intimacy of reality that is transcendent. It is an intimacy of interaction where love begins to take place in a new dimension, in a new understanding, where revelation takes place, and revelation begins to take place exponentially. It's not just line by line, precept by precept anymore. When you begin to come into the holy place, when you're willing, finally, to learn to come into the Holy of Holies and learn that it's between your ears. It's not in four walls in some building, cathedral. It's not in the heavens afar off somewhere. We have not been left without the path to return to be who we really are, the prodigal. The story of the prodigal son. I suggest to you, we, humanity, wanted to go do our thing. We wanted free will. We didn't want to abide by love because we could create whatever we wanted to create. And finally, the concept of arrogance, control, brutality found its way into our genes. And we begin to think about making a race, making a video game, making a race, making a planet. We could create a planet. We could create a video game. We could create the illusion of reality. We could create people in our movie that would be reality to them. And we made it so real. We decided to play the part. And we birthed ourselves into a kingdom of darkness. But wait, I don't really need a religious term to describe that. Let's not let religion's terms dictate to us our origin, our present now, or our future. And yet let us see a larger picture. Let us see the real picture of maybe what Jesus was trying to tell us. Jesus didn't create the church, sanction the church. You can decide that for yourself, but of course we're always deciding these things for ourselves, no matter what our information is. Because in the throne room of you, between your ears, at every moment, you are judging. You are judging you. You are judging each other because the judge has rendered a decision. Judgment is not condemnation. Judgment is making a decision on the evidence. But so many people are always trying to say, don't judge me, don't judge me. Jesus said judge, John 7:24. Jesus said judge. Look it up, you can see, John 7:24. Jesus, but he said judge, but judge righteously. We haven't known what it meant to render decisions according to the evidence of what true righteousness is. We haven't understood. We define so many words of God by our rational logic, by the words of man, words that deceive and conceive images. I suggest to you, you're not looking at the real me. If you see me in this video, you're looking at an image of me. But the real me is not in confusion about who I am, because the real me, the spirit of me, the energy of me, let's grow up and not let the terms determine our level of ignorance, but let's begin to come out of the terminology that limits us and begin to enter an energy, a state of surrender, where we're not limited to the words that have programmed us. The physical mind is simply a machine. Every word is an algorithm, and it produces an image. The definitions and images interact to literally create our reality. We're all creators. And now we are beginning to understand the message that I think Jesus was trying to portray all the time. They got hijacked by Christianity. But my friends, I am separating Christ from Christianity. Christ the anointed Messiah, Christ the soon-coming King. It's all imagery, it's all words to try to help us come out of the slavery to our own creation. And I have a school that can help people do this who are ready. Because if all you want to do is defend your belief system, I can't help you. I'm not the one. I often think about the role that desperation plays in discovery. You know, it's been said that necessity is the mother of invention. Well, that's another way of saying, I don't know if you're ready to know the truth. A lot of people aren't. They want confirmation of their beliefs. They want their prayers answered. But so many prayers are not answered because we usually want prayer answered the way we want it answered. We want it answered when we want it, the way we want it. We want to control. We think we know what's best. And our words carry that want. Our words carry that motive. Haven't you at times talked with people where they said one thing, but it seemed like the message you were receiving was not that at all? Haven't you talked with people who said, I want to give you this, that, or the other, but it felt like all they were saying is, I want what's in your wallet. I want this, that, or the other. I want you to serve me. I want you to listen to my words. I want your attention. I want your eyes on my eyes. Wait a minute. See, there's another way to live. We're not limited to earth. We're not limited to the thoughts of others, nor how others have treated us, wounded us deeply. We're not limited to these things that cause us grief. And I submit to you, the center of the command structure of what causes us grief is our soul, the seat of our emotions, the seed of our want. But when we're ready to come to a place and look to God, look to the Creator, look to the source, look to the original energy of God, look to, it doesn't matter what you call it. We're using terms trying to interact with common definitions. But when we're ready, when we've experienced enough pain, disappointment, grief, sometimes we're ready to learn. Sometimes we learn by the things that we have suffered that we are ready to learn the things of truth. And truth, I suggest to you, is not comfortable. Oh, you want the comforter. Right, I got it. Gosh, okay, I understand. Me too. I wanted the comforter, the comforter, the comforter. Wanted some comfort. Wanted some help. Help. How many times have we said, God, help me. Help me. Help me. I need help. I have. Many times. When we're ready to come as a child into the holy place. The holy place, I suggest, is the place of surrender. It could be in your backyard, your car, your boat, your airplane, or in a place of famine, lack, grief, despair, even a place of death. But when we're ready to surrender, to come into the holy place of surrender, where we shed all of this pretense and pompousness of knowing who we are, knowing who God is separate, knowing we're humanity. And we were made for a relationship with whatever that thing or whoever that is. And we begin to no longer be satisfied with the ambiguity that we have been programmed with, nor controlled by the algorithms of others that have told us who we are and how we are to operate and stay in our place. When we're no longer abiding by the words of other, the seed is still there. The seed of the original I am. The seed of the original I am that existed before time, space, and gravity, before this planet ever did, before we existed in this thinking mechanism, before we were ever a binaried existence of consciousness in a dualistic world. So there's more to the story. There's more to the planets. Would you like to know how to create one? Are you willing to be part of the infinite mind who trashes it no more? Wanting third grade religion, secondhand knowledge that defeats you every day? Are you ready to grow up? Are we ready to lay aside the elementary principles of this world? Are you willing to think? Are you willing to imagine? Are you willing to consider? You may be the Christ. Oh, it's so easy to react in the soulish. I'm not that. I can't do anything. I can't heal anyone. This, that, and the other. And no matter what you call it, we react. Most of the time, as humanity, as fools. Oh, there's a lion in the street. We don't even know how to talk with each other. We don't know how to think. We don't know how to ask questions. We have not been taught leadership. We've been taught to conform to other people's opinions and other people's wants and other people's writings when you are the Word. You are the power of the Word, the power behind the Word. You are the energy that existed before words existed. You are the light of the world before light ever needed waves to propagate its appearance, its displacement, its creation. I suggest to you there's more to the story, and we are coming into it at light speed and faster because we are no longer limited to this law. The law of love, deliver me. I no longer love like I used to, somehow or other, in recent times. I've come into a different understanding, a new understanding, a revelation. No matter what term you used it, no matter what term you use to describe it, the best word I know to describe it at the moment is I have come into the recognition of love to love love. You see, I love you. I know I can say that. I know that I mean it. Though you may recoil, you may reject it. But I know who you are. I know who you are before you were born in flesh. We were a race of angels. And angels are not made lower than God. And humanity is not made lower than the angels. We are all one. Rational logic wants to provide its own dictation. its own word system. The mind of man wants to supplant the words of God. But God exists in the temple, not just the temple of man. God resides wherever we are because we are it. And the temple of one, the temple restoration of Israel, is not in the Mideast, it's between our ears. The command center of Jerusalem in the allegory is you, between your ears. In Jerusalem, the command center is a part of Israel. All that is speaking about the non-molecular. We begin to understand that we are creators of the Creator, that comprises the Creator, because the Creator is a one consciousness of many. And now we are lingering no more in language. We're no more languishing in faith. We're dumbed down no more by the authorities of other. We are learning to stand up. Come to our senses, not being limited to our five-sense mind. Our five-sense mind has ruled us, and the products of the five-sense mind have controlled us for eons. You can't come out until you begin to see your authority. And when you begin to see your authority, if you're willing to learn how to mature in your authority, your real authority, the authority of transcendence, the authority of God, the authority of source, the authority of original energy, no matter what you call it, the authority of the real you, the infinite, immortal, eternal you. If you begin to mature, the authority of others will have less and less in your life. And their power to give you grief will have less and less effect on you. The power of truth reduces the power of the soul that wants you to live not in harmony, but in turmoil. See, your soul energy doesn't matter whether you love or hate. It doesn't matter whether you worship God or the devil or anything you want to do. It just wants to use its energy on the only true energy that exists, the energy of light, love, and peace. The God I know, folks, the God that has taught me, that teaches me, that I speak of, is a nurturing, wooing, caressing, reproducing one through intimacy. So as long as the mind of man, the mind of humanity, the consciousness keeps you complicit with the ways of humanity, all it wants to do is use your energy, controlling your mind, have your attention. All it's doing is using your energy. Doesn't matter what you look at, what you confess, or what you profess. It keeps you in separation from the real you. The mind wants to live on you. The mind that we created, that we programmed, uses our own energy. The real energy of what we used to call God. Pardon me. So we're listening, we're learning, we're growing up. You can call it New Age. You can call it religion. You can call it religionlessness. But what's your heart? What are you seeking? What are you living for? What are your motives? What are you ready for? And when you're ready not to defend what you've been taught, when you're ready to listen, when you're ready to ask the God that I'm speaking of, the original source energy before time began, when you're ready to commune, when you're ready to be intimate in your consciousness without any defense, not letting expectations control you or the interaction with God, then you're ready. You're ready. You're ready to learn. You're ready to listen. But are you ready to write? You see, writing is a process of creation. Just like speaking, just like listening. They're all aspects of learning, but we're learning to no longer be controlled by our five-sense mind because the energy of truth will lead us if we let it. Are you ready? I have a school. I'm not perfect, but I listen, and I've listened, and for years now, 21 years, I've written the first person words of God. When I began to experience the energy as a stream that I began to experience and have words come through me, it wasn't the voice, it was the heart, it was the energy, a stream. Whether you call it the Holy Spirit, no matter what you want to call it. But that which was real began to teach me over the years that I am it. That I am. The real me is not limited to this flesh. And the flesh is not the real me. But the flesh uses the real me. The Holy Spirit that I thought was God was the real me. The real me is comprised interconnectedly. It is the consciousness of the one. The one. So many times we've looked for the one and we've wanted the blessing to be the one. We didn't want it to be us. I suggest we've shirked our responsibility. We have been complicit with complacency. We've sat on pews. We've studied books. We've said there's a lion in the street. We've refused our own leadership. We've hidden from our own flesh. We went and looked for the wine press to stomp out grapes, to hide, because we didn't want to stand up. We didn't want other eyes on us that would pierce us with daggers and arrows and assail us with mental thoughts and looks like, who do you think you are? It's time to overcome all that. Love leads love to be it. And I suggest to you, true love leads leadership to be in peril no more. I suggest you no longer need a carrot and stick theory. You no longer need the language that creates images to you of heaven and hell, a God of judgment. You no longer need. In fact, I'm asking you to come out from underneath the authority of those who tell you, beware of false teachers. There's a lion in the street. You're so fragile, you won't know the difference. I think you'll know the difference if you choose to learn the difference. If you choose to not be fragile, you'll decrease in how delicate you think you are, or you need to be, or you're willing to grow up. Not in brash arrogance or brutality, but in being who you really are, the nurturing love to each other that understands who we are. No longer needing a God figure to appease. No longer striving to be worthy. No longer trying to comply with the rules. No longer shirking our authority to be who we really are. We become Esther, willing to go before the king. The king, and find out who the king is. And when you're finally ready to put on and become the robe of humility and walk into the palace of light and meet God face to face, the King of Kings, death or no death, if I perish, I perish, when you're ready to come to the end of yourself and seek I am with no pretense. When you walk down, not an aisle to an altar, but when you walk into the Holy of Holies, in the temple of your holiness that still exists between your ears, when you walk in humility, when you're ready to make that walk, to walk into the kingdom of God and see God face to face before you die, when you see God on that throne, you'll see you, the real you. You'll see the real you, not imaged by your flesh anymore. And that takes a humble mind. It takes humility. And I'm still thinking about the element of desperation. You know, the idea, harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eye of the needle, or however you want to say that. It's an allegory. You see the picture. You see, if we're complacent, if we're happy with our Bible, our church, our denomination, our religion, our existence, are we willing to do what it takes to complete the truth, to become who we really are again, to become born again beings of light, born again who the angels are, born again a race of new creations, not even needing syllables to communicate, because we're not limited to the ambient air, the energy of this world. This is what we're coming into, a race of angels. I have a school for this. I am an angel. You are an angel. But you can wear your humanity, and you will wear it as long as you want to keep creating it in separation from who you really are. Now that's pretty damn plain, isn't it? Pretty straight. You are God. And God doesn't need a God figure to come into the knowledge of God again, but humility. Your consciousness. You weren't created by someone else, an entity of your image. The biggest lie of all is you were created by someone else, by something else. No, my friend, you created you. We all created ourselves and we are responsible. Therefore, you see, Jesus is the pattern to show us redemption, redemption from ourselves, redemption from our mind. Not to crucify us in the flesh, but to come into the knowledge that the authority of the flesh no more has authority over us. And the only way you walk through that door of love is you become it. You become the Redeemer of you. And this is now. And this is who we are. And I am not a perfect example. I'm imperfect. I have wandered in the desert of my confusion, even as these lessons, the first person words of God, came through me for years. I pondered, wandered, misinterpreted, beat my head against the wall. At times felt like beating my head against a brick wall, standing in pools of my own blood. Many times. I have wanted to stop. I have stopped recording. I stopped writing more than once. And yet something in me, something at times would woo me in some kind of tenderness. And I would begin again. I would pick up my pen and I would begin to write, and I'd begin to cut on my little recorder. And you can too. And when you want love and truth, truth that is love and love that is truth, more than you want to be right, more than you want to continue the pain, you have a way out. You have a way in. The kingdom of heaven is still within you. And still, all power in heaven and earth is given to you. Still, the power of life and death is in your tongue. Because it's connected to the consciousness of God that was never separate, that yours is, that was never separate, because you were one. The separation occurred, the fall occurred in the mind, and the mind created the creation of who we are, who we think we are, with the rational logic. The programmed five-sense mind. Light, you're not limited to the speed of light. You can travel to different universes by thought. Miracle? Turn water into wine, walk on water. See, this is not your world to remain in, to relive the misery and pain, inflicting the misery and pain on each other. We are not this that remains in separation anymore. It's time to go home. Go home to heaven? No. It's time to become who we really are. And who we really are, some would say, remember I've mentioned the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of you, your energy body, your body of energy, but not limited to the molecules. See, there's an energy that wants to make molecules limited to its energy. I'm not that energy. I'm not talking about that energy. I'm not talking about the God, the mind, that wants to limit us. I'm talking about the original reproducer of love, light, and joy, growing up the creators to create who want separate from perfect love again. And this is my message, and this is what my school is about. My school. My school that the consciousness of God is, not mine as a flesh person who wants to wrap my fist around it and control it. The consciousness of God speaking with you. If you hear me, let me suggest there's an energy, a revelation, a something that rides on these words to you. It's the power of love of the intangible me to the intangible you. The intangible, immortal, graceful beauty of the one being who surrenders to no longer being limited to what we thought we were. And this is the school for the angels. And this is what I do, what I speak of, why I record. Sometimes in creative ways, with creative pictures and creative patterns of energy, creative diction and grammar, and sometimes I'm sure, failing miserably in your eyes. Sometimes failing in mine. But just trying to be me? Respectably not. I'm no longer trying to achieve anything in anyone else's eyes. But I have relinquished power and control over the real me for the real me to speak through me like this. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I do a good job and sometimes poorly. But I am in motion. And I deliver the good news. And the good news is you don't have to wait until you die to enter the heaven. In fact, my friend, that's not how you enter at all. If you come out of the energy system of the cycle of reuse and reuse, reincarnation, whatever you want to call it, if you want to come out and be the real you, you can. But sometimes there's stormy weather and you need to walk on the water. And the food you eat may not be molecular. You may call out the name of Lazarus, come forth. But it may be your name. And it won't be the tomb of someone else, but the tomb that we've carried around here that's alive and well in the reality of truth. When we begin to realize we shield ourselves no more from it, we take down the veil between us and God. And we begin to realize there's no separation, there's no veil. And even the two hemispheres of our brain no longer separate us from the creativity and the logic center of our mind, because Creator Central is one, no longer in duality or polarity, no longer subject to the energy flow of directionality, because the direction we're going is complete me. The direction we're going is the entire energy spectrum, no longer limited to the visible energy spectrum that these eyes see. We're learning to see beyond the sight of the eye and beyond the hearing in our ear. We're beginning to absorb, realize, understand the power of love without the love of power. And that love is more powerful than any power on earth or anywhere else. And we're learning to see and perceive that which is not limited to these syllables. So I teach you to teach yourselves. I don't want you dependent upon me. I don't want you always dependent on all of my teachings or all of the lessons or all of the first person words of God that I've written over these years. The motive, you see, is for you to develop you, for you to enter your own temple between your ears, the Holy of Holies, and walk in and see in your mirror the face of God and reject it no more. No longer creating an image of God somewhere else. No longer holding up a Bible or any holy book and saying, that's my law, that's my love, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, with all sorts of attributions. I'm asking you to come before you. It's all by love. Love. Humility. Arrogance will not rule this nation, nor heaven, nor anywhere else. Arrogance will no longer rule this universe, because we are one, and the oneship of one heads the head, the existence, the consciousness of creation, to create it again, being the newborn you. And that's what I invite you to do. That's what I invite you to become. It's no longer about believing. It's about becoming. Putting on the robe, no longer being enshrouded by voices other. The web of deceit no longer entangles us with any kind of entanglement, magnetic or not. I love you. And this is the quantum me. The quantum me speaking, the quantum Christ. Quantum consciousness, quantum real. You see, truth is not delicate. And there's no sacrilege, no blasphemy, no heresy to begin to come as a child into the holy place and utter what may be one of the most powerful prayers I've ever prayed. Here I am. And when you come as a child, you come into the Holy of Holies and say, here I am. Teach me. Teach me. Teach me to love love. Teach me to grow up. Teach me to teach others. That's when you begin your school. When you do that, you're in school. And the consequences will be not what you expect. Because the originality of you creates the creator, and your path is not like anyone else's. So the school is not like any other school. This is the school of God for God to be God again. Decreating our illusions. No longer under the images. That's why I say, have no image before you, have no God before you. But it's not that we reject what we have served. It's not that we reposition the images or modify the images, but we're beginning to take off that which has imaged us to us, to see the real in each other, so that we begin to love the red people, the white people, the black people, the blue people, the green people, those that look like us, those who are destitute, those who are famished, those who are in famine, those who can't help themselves, as well as the affluent kings, not leaving them out. Whether your physical body thinks their physical body is the greatest of all or not, or the least of all, because we are all one. And when we look at each other, we're looking at ourselves. The consciousness of one, or the consciousness of creation that creates itself apart. But I still love you. I know what love is. Love does not die. And love does not conform itself to another for another's wishes. For the originality of faith goes bye-bye, but the face of God is revealed to you this day in your mirror. I love you, and I thank you for listening. I thank you for caring. And I thank you for understanding that truth is not comfortable most of the time. If you really want truth, if you want correction, seek correction. Come into your temple. Write these words. Listen to these words again and again. Listen to this recording. Many of my recordings I've listened to 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a day to learn from it. I've spent thousands of hours listening to my own recordings with pencil, with pen and paper, writing notes, creating outlines, writing down keywords, then realizing how so many of the messages, the lessons that I've spoken are like mosaics. Something is said one way, and a few minutes later, it's amplified. It's connected to another thought, which increases the revelation of what's being said. And a few minutes later, something else. And I would draw lines to key phrases. And then I would realize, wait a minute, 3 days ago, this was addressed. And I would go back and look at my notes of 3 days ago, and I would say, oh, that's what this means. And I would write down notes and link my lesson of 3 days ago with this lesson. And I began to realize, oh, this is what John 17 speaks of. Oh my gosh. A picture begins to emerge in the teaching system of God, the teaching system of the energy of one, the consciousness of light, love, and peace. Oh, this is the operation of the new covenant, the channeling that I've done. You see, the terms don't defeat truth. We may have the wrong term, but an effort, the intent, the desire, not the want to control it, but the desire for truth will come through with humility to the humble. And the humble heart will recreate it. I love you all. My name is Theodore Cottingham with the School of Me. I teach like this. I love like this. I have become the real me. Not quite like I will yet. But there's more in store for us. And the ready will receive to become. Lift up your eyes and see no one else coming to redeem you. You're the one who resurrects you. Into the now to do all the things that Jesus did and more. I love you all. Maybe I'll do a seminar soon. Maybe a workshop in Eureka. Maybe a webinar. Write me. I invite you to write me. Box 34 in Eureka Springs. Write me. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you understand of what I'm saying. Tell me what you don't understand, if you like. It's what you want. It's up to you. What do you want? Where do you want to learn? Who do you want to learn from? I'm asking you to learn how to learn from you, through your words that you originate like this. And I have a school where you begin to learn through the first person words that you write, and learn to make videos just like this. And whether you make them better than me, with all sorts of fancy editing, terrific quality cameras or not, you begin where you begin. Begin with you. Enter your temple. You are the only one who can restore it. You are the only one who can cleanse your temple. You are the power and the authority of the one. Be no longer separate from the one that we so many on earth have been taught to be another. It's you, my friend. I love you. I go now. Thank you again for listening. Subscribe to these words on this YouTube channel if you haven't, if you like. Subscribe as a student if you like. See the website of the school, theschoolofme.com. The School of the Real You. Okay, I go now. Thank you again. I love you. Share these words. Live them, love them. Emit yours. Begin your school of the King that you really are. In light, love, and peace. See ya. Good day.